know a story of a dangerous obsession with female beauty. It's called Snow White.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Really sorry, I was just trying to be kind.
Kind? If you want to be kind, disappear and take the patriarchy with you. Seriously, go away, stalker. You're weird. Weird.
I'm a narcissist.
What happens when a beloved fairy tale turns into a PR nightmare? Imagine landing one of the most iconic roles in Hollywood, the lead in Snow White. Now imagine turning that dream into a full-blown disaster, where the media, the fans, and even the Simpsons are tearing you apart. That's the reality for Rachel Zegler, a rising star who went from red carpet darling to online punching bag, not because of one bad performance, but because of a string of controversial interviews, PR blunders, and public missteps. And now, with a savage Simpsons parody going viral, Rachel's career may be facing its toughest chapter yet. What was supposed to be her crowning moment has become a cautionary tale, one the whole world is watching. Let's rewind. Before the controversy, Rachel Zegler was a breakout talent. She stunned audiences in West Side Story, handpicked by Steven Spielberg himself. She had the voice, the looks, the presence, the kind of energy that had Disney executives seeing her as the perfect Snow White for a new generation. When Disney announced her casting in their live-action remake, the industry buzzed. A Latina actress in a historically white role? It was bold, it was modern, and it was risky. But in Hollywood, risks can pay off. And this one seemed promising. Until it wasn't. Because while the cameras started rolling, the real drama wasn't happening on set. It was happening every time Rachel opened her mouth in an interview. It started small. A few sound bites here and there. Rachel talking about how the original Snow White was outdated, that the 1937 prince was creepy, and that her version wouldn't be waiting for love, but fighting for leadership.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Then came the viral clips, one after another. She dismissed the classic love story, laughed at the old script, mocked the idea of true love's kiss as old-fashioned nonsense. For hardcore Disney fans, it felt like she was tearing down their childhood. And it wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the smirks, the eye rolls, the vibe that this was all beneath her. Suddenly, Rachel wasn't the charming new face of Disney. She was the anti-princess, the woman who took the crown and smashed it on national TV. Fans didn't just criticize her, they turned on her. Memes exploded. Reddit threads dissected every interview, and what should have been a marketing campaign became a PR firestorm. Then, Disney made another move that threw gas on the fire. They replaced the iconic Seven Dwarfs with a group of magical creatures, mostly tall, average-sized actors in fantasy outfits. The explanation? They wanted to avoid stereotypes, but the backlash was swift. Actor Peter Dinklage, one of the most respected voices in the dwarfism community, slammed the decision. He said replacing dwarfs with generic creatures was actually regressive, not progressive.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of seven dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
And he wasn't alone. Disability advocates, fans, and even people within Hollywood questioned the logic. Some saw it as erasing representation rather than fixing it. To make matters worse, Disney still kept one token dwarf in the film, a move many saw as performative and tone-deaf. It was no longer just about feminism or fairy tales. Now it was about identity, disability, and who gets to be represented on screen. Once again, Rachel was at the center, the face of a movie drowning in controversy, even before it hit theaters. As if things couldn't get more complicated, Rachel decided to go on the offensive. She told reporters she deserved to be paid every hour her movie was streamed, because of the time she spent standing in costume for 18 hours a day. She called herself overworked, underpaid, and emotionally drained.
Say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Now, whether she had a point or not didn't matter. Because in the eyes of the public, a millionaire actress complaining about streaming royalties while promoting a $300 million movie? It wasn't a good look. Audiences didn't hear struggle. They heard entitlement. The term girl boss Snow White started trending, but not in celebration. It was satire, a symbol of everything people felt was wrong with modern Hollywood. Online forums were flooded with snarky headlines. TikToks mocked her voice. Twitter threads labeled her the most disliked Disney lead in recent history. And during all of this, Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen, seemed to be pulling away. Fans noticed the awkward silence between them at red carpet events. They shared a stage at the Oscars, but barely looked at each other. Rumors swirled that even Gal was distancing herself from the chaos. When Snow White finally hit theaters, the damage had already been done. Despite months of press, trailers, and social media hype, audiences stayed away. Entire theaters sat empty. Videos surfaced of people walking into screenings with literally no one else inside. The numbers were shocking. A movie that cost over $300 million brought in just $2 million in a key weekend, while Minecraft, a movie about pixelated blocks, earned $60 million in the same time frame. It was one of the worst-performing Disney live-action remakes ever. And Disney, the company that rarely admits failure, was suddenly very quiet. Even longtime fans admitted the film just didn't connect. Critics called it soulless. Audiences called it cringeworthy. And Rachel? She became the face of the failure. Then, just when things seemed to settle, The Simpsons entered the chat. In a scathing episode titled Snow Woke, the reimagining, they parodied Rachel's Snow White in brutal fashion. In the episode, the character bans princes, lectures the villagers, and watches her film flop as she spirals into a public meltdown on Krusty the Clown's show. It was savage. It was specific. And it was everywhere. People who hadn't even seen the movie now had a caricature burned into their minds. Not from the film, but from Springfield. And the worst part? It didn't feel like parody. It felt like the episode was just saying what everyone already thought. After months of interviews, posts, and public appearances, Rachel Zegler disappeared. No new tweets, no Instagram stories, no red carpets, no press junkets. Her name vanished from Disney's promotional materials. Interviews were canceled, media stopped scrubbed. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Disney had officially pulled the plug on her campaign. And Rachel? Silent. For someone who had been so outspoken about her vision for Snow White, her sudden disappearance only made the silence louder. And then, things got surreal. An AI-generated OnlyFans page pretending to be Rachel went viral. It was fake, clearly so, but people believed it. That's how far her public image had fallen. Even absurd rumors didn't feel out of place anymore. Hollywood noticed. Projects that were once tied to her name started getting recast. Casting directors passed. Her breakout momentum had stalled. Add to that a very public breakup with actor Josh Andres Rivera. And suddenly, Rachel's name wasn't lighting up headlines. It was being quietly erased from them.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things.
From red carpets to Reddit memes, she had gone from rising star to cautionary tale. Rachel Zegler was supposed to be Disney's next big star. Instead, she became a case study in how fast things can spiral, how quickly public opinion can flip, and how unforgiving the spotlight can be. Was she bold? Sure. Was she modern? Absolutely. But was she ready for what came next? That's the real question. Now, with The Simpsons immortalizing her in satire and Hollywood pulling back, Rachel faces a tough choice: rebuild or retreat. Because fairy tales don't always come with happy endings. But sometimes, just sometimes, there's still time for a second act.